Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I should be turning off social media because they're getting into a pseudonym thing, and I'm not sure why that is. But anyway, this is the Comic Book Chronicles, and I am Roddycat. You can find me at Roddycat on Twitter. You can find me at Newsnet on Twitter. You can find me on CBCaps on Instagram. You can also find me on Blue Sky on Blue Sky. Yes.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And sound effects you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back in the saddle once again.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
I'll say, as long as Threads continues to exist, it's probably going to be last, unless I just outright forget, which is bound to happen. Trust and believe. And like I said, you can find this here podcast on your Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
Yeah. You can also find this on your podcast producer place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. And folks, ladies and gentlemen, and all ages, and all folks of all ages, it is the year 2025. We made it, folks.
Somehow, some way.
Happy New Year!
There it is. Yep. Now we just got to get through this in the next 4 years, but that's a thing. That's what's gonna happen. There's been a lot of Jadakiss "We Gonna Make It" being played in recent days.
I guess so. It's not bad. That's not bad.
I mean, if we're gonna have an anthem, for times that are gonna be that. So, but we're just gonna keep pushing, and we're gonna keep trucking along with this here Comic Book Chronicles podcast, except no substitutes, because apparently there's another one out there.
What?
Yeah, I told you that.
Wait, there's another podcast with our name on it?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, son.
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned that in the group chat, but we'll talk about that after the show. Yeah, it's just, so like I said,
cease and desist.
I'm hoping we can do that, but hopefully it won't come to that, or worst comes to worst, which I would guess I have to talk to him about that, but that's a whole nother situation. Like I said, we are here. We've been here the longest, and we've been here. We're going to continue to be here. So with that, folks, we are going to get into the show proper, talking about this week's Star Wars Skeleton Crew episode 6, called Zero Friends Again.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. So I guess I'll bat lead off on this because we get to find out what happens to the kids once they hit that lever. They're literally going down the tubes.
Yes. Goonies style, if it wasn't apparent.
Right. It's very much a tribute to that particular sequence in the Goonies. Meanwhile, Jod has been taken captive, by the pirates / bounty hunters, and while he's trying to sweet talk his way out of what they have planned for him, the kids find their way back to the ship. But do they really? And that's kind of like the best part. There's like a lot of there are a lot of hijinks that are involved. There's a lot of kids not necessarily realizing how dire their situation is, and kind of making it through kind of by the skin of their teeth, and through sometimes sheer dumb luck. But at least sometimes each kid realizes how they can better serve their friends and colleagues now. That's kind of one of the lessons here in this episode.
Yes, Wim continues to be a problem, but he's changing slightly. Ever so slightly, ever so slowly, he is changing in realizing. So,
right. Now, I was saying to Rodicat earlier that this is kind of a spotlight episode on KB, because we get to find out more about what she means by augs, and by augs, I presume she means those are short for augmentations, and again, it's really frustrating that they would put the Asian character with the goggles on. It's very Geordie LaForge. Like, why? Seriously, why? But they do make her, they make her very sensible, but also at the same time, not willing to ruffle feathers. But she learns to a certain extent to stand up for herself. So
yeah, I guess that brings up a kind of a weird thing about this episode, because clearly it had to kind of go the way it did because of the fact that they needed to hash some things out. But the way it kind of came about just seems out of the blue. Like, there's not to get too far into what actually happens, but the thing that stokes up a little bit of contention within the show. Like, granted, yeah, it has been bubbling there for a while, but it just was like, okay, how is this the time for that to be brought up? Because it's like there was nothing, that preempted it. That was like, okay, hey, this just leading directly into this. This is just like, well, it's like this because it's like this, and I'm like, all right, sure. Well, we're gonna roll with it, but it still just seems kind of weird that it happened the way it did. But nevertheless, it was to serve a purpose, and that purpose ended up being, hashed out in like Agent 70 said, in the most the most innocuous way that they could.
What they ended up doing was pairing off in kind of non-traditional pairs, and that forced each character to kind of, that forced the characters to learn to mesh in different ways, learn how to work together in different ways. Specifically, the now former captain of the crew has to figure out how to do something physically taxing that Neil, you got to protect Neil at all costs. That Neil can't exactly do the same way that the other three can. So, that's the mildest way of spoiling it, that I can think of. So, bottom line is, each of them kind of figures out a way to contribute in a slightly different way.
Right. They basically had the characters had to take a look at themselves, and the only way they could do it is to see it from an angle they're not used to seeing it as, I guess. So it was like I said, it was in that respect. That's kind of a thing that's, I guess you could almost say that's probably as a trope, I guess. That shows have used in the past, definitely. But it's like, yeah, okay, you don't. Well, you do see it that often in shows like this. I shouldn't even say that. So,
and they also hit the button they're not supposed to hit the button, and strange things happen.
Yes, they yeah, that part was kind of funny. I was like, wow, they stole that from the Mandalorian, seems like, or the prequel movies, because that what happens after they hit that button sure did look kind of familiar, but looks good. So hey, it worked out for them.
Yeah, seriously.
Because you kind of should have known it was going to happen, because the preview, to the show when there was like, hey, the previously on pretty much says, hey, they're bringing some stuff up.
Yep.
And sure enough, that was the first thing they brought up. So you kind of saw it coming. And folks, hey, guess what? There's going to be a new figure. There's definitely going to be a new figure, a piece of merchandise probably coming out of that event. So
Yeah.
surprisingly, it wasn't spoiled by now. But hey, it is what it is. So, but yeah, still a good show. It's still hitting at all of the nostalgic beats of the Goonies, and surprisingly still holds its own as a solid show, I think, anyway.
No, it's good. It's entertaining. This episode was pretty entertaining.
Mhm.
Kudos to I mentioned it in our pre-production meeting just before we started recording. Bryce Dallas Howard directed this episode, and it turned out very well. When I saw her name at the end of the credits, at the beginning of the credits, that is,
Right.
at the end of the show, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Right. Because, well, I guess, when you're not at the point of like, well, I can tell who did this,
Right.
the situations like you don't really know. But hey, you know what? It was good to see. But also, glad to see they're continuing their relationship with her, because the last couple of shows that they had her doing stuff for have also been some pretty good episodes as well.
Yeah.
It continues to be good. Unless we got something else to about the show, which we don't think we do without spoiling anything, we're going to move on to talk about the rest of What If Season 3. It's over with.
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's a dealt thing. So yeah, I think last week, 1870 said the last show he had watched was the Shang-Chi one and Kate Bishop.
Right. And I finished watching it. So, I mean, I finished watching season 3.
Right. So which means that was like, I guess, what is that the third? That was the third of the 3 left, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Because I watched them all in rapid succession.
Oh, I gotcha.
Those things kind of blended together. But yeah, it looks the good stuff. As we have said in the past, like, yeah, the last couple of episodes were, hey, here is the thing of the season, and of course that thing has to do with the Watcher directly. And in the moment that we have as comic book fans, much less, Marvel comic book fans have seen at least once or twice, old boy got himself in some trouble for doing stuff that he ain't supposed to be doing.
Exactly, for not just watching, folks.
Exactly. And in this case, which, again, if you're not that savvy about the Watcher, there's a piece of information that is probably previously unknown to those folks, of which we, like we who have kind of been around for a while, not trying to toot a horn or anything, but it's like, comic book folks who are versed in it would probably already know the situation, that the bit of information that was given out at the end of near the end of this episode of the last episode,
right,
directly dealing with the Watcher. So if you haven't really, I guess it shouldn't count as a spoiler because it shouldn't be, but at the same time, hey, it is probably a spoiler to some folks. So, and some people probably still haven't finished watching them. So I guess the only thing I will ask Agent 7 is, what was, let's say, your top 3 favorite shows from the season?
We're talking about episodes of the 8 episodes?
Yes.
I want to say the Red Guardian Winter Soldier one is probably the most traditional what if story.
Okay.
It's like, what if this happened?
Mm-hmm.
And everything spins out of that concept. I'm gonna say the 1872 episode in the Wild West.
Shang-Chi and Hawkeye.
Kate Bishop. Yeah, exactly. And just for pure silliness, the Howard the Duck episode.
Oh, with him and Darcy, yeah.
Yeah, just for pure silliness.
Agreed. I think for me, the Mech Avengers one, that one's up there. So we didn't talk about this. The Agatha. This is not necessarily one of the three for me, but the Agatha Harkness and Kingo one was quite amusing for what they did with it. Because I thought they were with the beginning of the season. I thought they were going a certain way, and they actually didn't. Because I felt like they were going they were kind of going a more WandaVision way with the season, but they didn't. They actually didn't. But yeah, the Howard the Duck one was probably is probably one of them, and the Red Guardian. No, well, wait a minute, hold on, let me back up.
Well, the thing is, with the Red Guardian, at least David Harbour is going all in.
Yes,
you know, with his portrayal of the Red Guardian, he's having a ton of fun with that.
Yeah. You know what? Now I'm gonna have to change my order. Mech Avengers, definitely. Yeah, Red Guardian one, definitely. And 7. Because of a certain goddess of thunder.
Sure. Appearing. I got you.
In all glory, you know, from the other show that she's also voices the same character with. So it was, yeah, pretty much gave me chills on that one. So, but yeah, the Shang-Chi one was really good. The one with Riri Williams was pretty good too. I thought they were going to do more with that, honestly, because that kind of felt like one of those things. Like, okay, clearly at the end of this season, X, Y, and Z are going to come back into the fold as a thing in the Watcher-related episodes, and neither one happened. Like I was expecting Hulkzilla to come back.
Nah.
Well, no, because you think about it, because like the last couple of seasons, there was like, oh, we need help on this one, or we portal somebody in, whatever, and as a last minute Hail Mary type of situation. So I kind of figured it would have been like, okay, we get Hulkzilla and Revision, to pop in, and they didn't do either one of those. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they took a left turn. It did a swerve,
right,
by continuing the Howard the Duck episode,
right,
to its logical, continuation.
Right, which also brings up a question, because we know Natasha Lyonne is going to be in Fantastic Four. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be that character that shows up here in this season. Although if it is that case, I guess, in what capacity? If that is the case, or is it going to be like the before this happens, or does it, I don't know. Probably thinking too much about it, and it's probably not even one has nothing to do with the other. But it was kind of a curious that like, well, they introduced this new character and they put him in this situation, and they're also the person that's playing them is going to be in this other thing, which again could be two totally separate things.
Right. You have to give Natasha Lyonne a lot of credit, because she also, much like David Harbour, goes in on this character.
Yes, she does. Which, from a couple of the things that I've seen her in, she tends to do that.
Right.
So, kind of not surprising about that, but also you are absolutely right. But yeah. Anyway, regardless, folks, that it's a wrap. You can add us with your favorites of the season or whatnot. It's kind of weird, still sad and kind of weird that it's over in, because it is What If, and as we know from What If from the comic books, there's a long ass run and pretty much almost infinite amount of things you could do with the show. But I guess there's like, we don't want to put any more money into this or something, so we're keeping this on this right here.
I was about to say for now.
Yeah, they could very well come back to it, and I hope they do. But it seemed like they were. It felt like they were talking about it like it's kind of final for now,
right?
For sure.
Right. They'll let it lay, and have people kind of get it out of their system, and maybe they'll bring it back.
Yeah, here's hoping. Well, and yeah, just like they've done with the comic, because because after that one long run back in the 70s, 80s,
Right.
and whatnot, it kind of dropped off and come back every now and then. In fact, they're still doing it. As a matter of fact, this week there's a What If comic book that came out.
That's right.
Which neither one of us has read. Now that I think about it, but yeah. So yeah, there is that. All right, folks, we're going to push on into the books of the week. Speaking of,
I'll just mention that I'm
sure.
up to date on Creature Commandos,
right,
and it's pretty fun. I'll also mention that like the last, so there are like 6 episodes out now, and the last, let's say like 3 of them have felt very James Gunn-y, right? Obviously, he's written and scripted most of this, if not all of this show so far, but the last 3 episodes have really felt on the nose for him. Like they're really out there. Like the characters are actually behaving very much the way he would interpret them. So it's it's very much influenced, obviously, since he's writing it, it's influenced very much so by his view on the characters and how he would develop them as teammates and as protagonists, or not only in name,
Right.
It's definitely developing them. It's a very interesting way of putting together. I'm not familiar with the comic book, the Creature Commandos in the comic book, but this is it's very much Suicide Squad-esque. Obviously that's the concept, but with non-human operatives, and so we're dealing with the monster operatives, and obviously he gets to have a lot more leeway with that, as does Amanda Waller.
I was going to say Monster Suicide Squad, but just Monster Squad would work if you remember that movie.
Right.
So that's good. Like I said, one of these days I'll get around to checking that out. Wasn't really big on it in the first place, but that's just me being bitter and old.
I'm like, what do you have against monsters?
Oh, nothing against monsters. It's just the whole why this and not other more known properties of the DC universe.
Sure.
James Gunn decided to go with. Or hell, bring back Teen Titans. I don't know, but that's a whole nother situation in itself.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's hey, the man that I guess if you got the keys to the kingdom, you're gonna do what you want. I mean, you're gonna do the stuff that you like. You gotta respect that, I guess. So that being the case, now we are actually going to get into the books of the week, starting off with Sam Wilson, Captain America #1 of 5.
Yes, this is the pretty much the big launch of the week. Sam Wilson, Captain America #1 of 5, is written by Greg Pak and Evan Narcisse, with art by Eder. Forgive me for mispronouncing if it's Eder, but Eder Messias and Valentin Delandro. Colors by Fair Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So, forgive me for not recognizing Sam's, was a younger cousin?
Yes.
Has this character ever appeared to your knowledge?
Probably, but
Before?
I don't remember if they did. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Yeah, they weren't familiar to me either. So,
right. So this character appears and gets invited to a cookout along with a couple of, along with another character who's not surprisingly invited to the cookout, and it happens to be coincidentally, that's probably the best way to put it. Coincidentally, a party for a character who's also going to be featured in the new Sam Wilson Captain America movie that's due out in a month and a half. And the parallels between this story and the movie story are obviously very strong. They don't necessarily use the exact same characters. They do find parallels to strike. And with that, I'll hand it off to Rider Cat.
Yeah, they're not being slick with it, clearly. But yeah, so of course, as folks know, and actually, let me shuttle back to if you're watching the video version, you can see me flipping through variant covers. You know that the Captain America movie is going to be Sam Wilson, and also Red Hulk as an adversary. And they kind of set up a version of that here by the end of this issue, due to some dealings that Sam gets into after with his thanks to his cousin, which it was kind of using to himself. And I know folks been there have that one preview page of the cookout, that has been floating around in the last few days that has been getting a lot of love, and it's still great, even with people's nitpicks here and there about who's there, who's not there, or whatever the case may be. It's still pretty good. But Agent 70 and I was under the impression that this was an ongoing and not a miniseries. So that part is kind of curious, but also, like I think, like we were discussing before the show, like, yeah, they kind of did a similar well, they didn't do a similar thing. They just outright killed off the Black Panther book before the movie happened. Right. So at least in this case, we have a book that's going to, at the very least, be around until the movie comes out.
Right.
Even if it doesn't stick around afterwards. I mean, could it turn into an ongoing? Very much could. Will it? Who's to know? But if it doesn't, as Agent 70 pointed out, if it does end and that's the case, there won't be any Captain America books outside of them. I mean, the Avengers doesn't count because we're talking solo books. There won't be any Captain America books on the market.
Right. There won't be a single one.
Right. That being the case. Now, granted, that's not saying that, hey, one or both could come back. I would have wagered Steve will probably come back with a book sooner rather than later. And I think, as Agent 70 has said in the past, this is kind of getting out of the way for Sam and his movie right now.
Right.
So I would assume, yeah, a little time after that, we'll definitely see a book from some Steve will to come back. Or regardless, though, I hesitate to say this because it sounds like, well, of course it is, but this was actually a really good read, and it is a potential click of the week for me, and not just because of the quote unquote trappings. It was like just a junior book, especially with the history that was presented in here. In half of the book before it actually got into the things. Also, I did not know about a character that was mentioned, which we have news about later on in the in the news section. There was a character that got mentioned that I did not know their relation / status was to another character that shows up here, and I'm just like, okay, I did not know that. Maybe that wasn't something I didn't read, or maybe that's something that came out later. I knew about the character, just did not know
the clone.
Yes.
Yeah, same here.
So I was like, when did that come out? Also, it kind of makes me want to read Red, White, and Black again. Unsurprisingly, but it has been a while since that has happened. In fact, I don't think that's even on our evergreen list. But maybe it should be. I don't know. But if and or whenever we get back to those, regardless, folks, Sam Wilson has a book out right now, and we're going to enjoy it for what it is, for the premise that we got here, which was basically, hey, his cousin got him into a scheme of sorts that has to do with land and biting other characters' living situations on a wide scale. I'm talking about the Storms and the Inhumans and the Asgards of the world,
Mhm.
who have also had floating domiciles.
Right. You got the. Did you get the same feeling I got, which was an adaptation of the Sam Wilson MCU story about getting a loan, not being able to get a loan because the Avengers don't get paid?
Yep. As soon as that part came up, I was like, yep, they really much paralleled that one. So yeah, I'm definitely was with you on that one. Which, of course, whether that was intentional or just whatever, that was going to happen, because this book is not here by accident, and what's going on in this book is not here by accident, in parallel to what's going on in the MC. Not surprised by that, but it was kind of funny to see. That being the case.
Also, very, very quickly before we move on, Sam, is very upfront about something that I'm glad that that Greg Pak and Evan Narcisse decided to address right at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
which was Sam's not a super soldier,
right? Because I mean,
Sam's just a regular freaking dude, right? He's still somehow able to sling the shield similarly, maybe not exactly like Steve Rogers, but very similar to. And at the end of the day, he's able to do it with practice. He's super strong, but not like nearly superhumanly strong. And he still has he can still fly with the assist of the wings, and he can still communicate with birds. Those are his abilities. That's what he's very clear about. And it seems like that's what they're at least, for the most part, that's what they're going to lean into, which I'm happy to hear, as opposed to seeing Sam go, drop into hand-to-hand combat with T'Challa, or in other books.
Not gonna get over that one, huh?
No, I'm like, wait, stop with this.
Oh man, that was a show from a while ago, folks. That was indeed a funny conversation. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fact that, yeah, because I even had it in my notes, was like, wait, people don't know that Sam's not a super soldier. They just immediately think, hey, he's Captain America, so he's clearly a super soldier, like in this world. I'm like, good, okay, sure. But then again, hey, the people who mentioned it might be a little bit out of touch with some things.
Right.
So, which is understandable. They're just now coming into the light. But yeah, so that's actually, I wonder if they're going to come back. Well, two things actually. Now that you say that, I wonder if they're going to bring that part back up. I doubt it, because they just had to start Sam off with something for this book. So that was a pretty clear and easy thing to do. But also, I'm hoping they're not setting up to kill off a character. Because it kind of felt that way going into the cookout. Or not going to the cookout, after they got to that certain part of the cookout. And I'm hoping that's not the case. Even though, granted, hey, the characters are old, in age, so some characters are going to end up dying anyway. But I feel like they're kind of setting that up, and I hope they don't. But at the same time, it's probably going to happen at some point, whether it's you not showing them anymore or whatever the case may be.
Right. It would be unfortunate, but unfortunately, it also would make story, logical story sense.
Right.
Without me getting too deep into it. So.
Right. And that's why I was thinking, like, that's why it feels like, yeah, they could potentially set that up for that reason. So,
right.
But we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. But yes, that's Sam Wilson, Captain America, number 105. We're going to push off into the next book, and the last book, actually, that we have in common, which is Avengers, number 22.
Avengers, number 22 is written by Jed MacKay with art by Fareed Karami, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So what was interesting about this book is that we have had an opportunity now to circle back to a story that Jed MacKay had set up earlier in this Avengers run with Kang, right? This whole cataclysmic, stuff happening, and stuff that is going to hold on. Oh, that's it. The tribulation events, right?
Yes.
That's what they was calling it. That's what they called it. And what was interesting about this current group of Avengers is that when they talked about what this meant, the rich guy says, well, somehow this is more money than we can all afford, than we can just, use to buy it.
Right.
Yes. But then, I hate to say it, like the former thief that is in residence on the team, right?
Yes.
Sees an opportunity. And, when this particular character has an opportunity to kind of flesh out the details of this plan with another character who they're looking to let's say create a diversion.
The one who brought it to them in the first place, actually.
Exactly. So, while they're doing that, they're going to find a way to perpetrate a heist, but it's at the expense of the collector.
Grandmaster.
Grandmaster. I'm sorry. I picked the wrong, whatchamacallit. Elder of the Universe.
Yeah. All right.
And then hijinks ensue, right? Because the character who appears on the cover does in fact appear in the book.
So it's kind of funny that, because if you read the solicitation for the book, they made it like she's joining the Avengers.
Not exactly, right?
Exactly. So I'm sort of like, I can't see that happening. But also, this is Jed MacKay, who again has used this character. So basically, he's playing once again, bringing out his toys to play with again. So, or more of. So there is that. I do love when they get into the heist. The way things play out was kind of amusing. Also should point out two things. One, going back to What If, speaking of Kang, which is there's some there's some MCU property of Kangs that get used at the ends of What If, but no Kang, by the by. Which was kind of funny, because when I first saw the thing, I was like, wait, so is he gonna show up at some time? Nope, they're just gonna use this thing. No thing given. In this tech. So they are clearly going away from that, but still using the stuff that they already set up. Going back to Avengers 22 though, is that when the heist goes down and they're doing the things, I do love how some of the team members are into character as it is when the stuff goes down. And one kind of scuffs about the way they're being used, which was kind of funny. So yeah, this was an all around enjoyable read for me. Potential click of the week for sure. Also, I guess the second thing I was going to mention, which I totally forgot to mention, now I brought it back. Second mention of Avengers No Surrender this week. And the first being in Sam Wilson, Captain America, coincidentally.
Right, what was that?
So I vaguely remember what happened in No Surrender, but I feel like basically Red Hulk was there. So and yeah, I like I said, I don't remember enough of No Surrender to remember everything that happened when it. So the thing that Cap mentions in Avengers, like. That was the thing. When did that? What happened there? So I would have to go back and skim over some of that stuff. So, basically he got me on that one until I can go back and research or rekindle that one. So, but yeah, like I said, you know, the person, if you're watching the video version, that's on the cover of the book does show up in the way that you know, in a way you would expect, but not with the team. I like the way they kind of telegraphed it, but we kind of already knew because of the cover, but also Tony's almost PTSD mentioning of her, because he has had some dealings with her in a fairly recent past, thanks to her book. Actually, wait, was it her book? No, I think it was her book, not his book.
No, it wasn't her book.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's where she creates a Black Cat style suit of armor.
Right. And I was halfway expecting Stephen Strange to come up and be like, "Yep, she did it again." Also, kind of coincidentally, later, as of late, still, because I was watching someone watch, and this is kind of spoiler alert, folks, and including to Agent 70. So I apologize for this one. But Black Cat shows up in Marvel Spider-Man 2 in relation to what she normally does, and you know, Stephen Strange, but he doesn't show up, sadly. So I thought that was kind of funny as I was watching that recently. I gotta play those games, but anyway, we're to keep on track. Avengers 22 as a thing. It was a fun read, you know. So Jed McKay, you know, still doing this thing here. They keep going back to these Kang events. I keep wondering if they're just going to kind of slide that out of the way now that MCU Kang is kind of, you know, by the wayside. Yeah. But they don't necessarily have to, because it's comics. So, but they are keeping the references low. Well, with the exception of what, you know, they were keeping the references low up until the last part of this book. You know, we shall see. That being the case, we are going to go into rapid fire.
All righty. Let's spin it up, folks. Rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, I've just got one more book, that being Daredevil number 17. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Aaron Kuder, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So it seems like this storyline is coming to a head when it comes to where everyone is being woven back into the story. There's a lot of people being woven back into the story, as it were. This is not an easy book to pick up at this point. I could not even try to decipher what was happening if I was going to explain it to someone in this issue and not go all the way back to issue number 1, or even to the beginning of, or to the end of the Zdarsky run, because you kind of need that to get into this run of Daredevil. I will say, though, that it is very well written. Aaron Kuder does a bang-up job on the art on this, and I'm enjoying it. This is probably going to end up being my Kliq of the week, even though Avengers 22 is really good. But I only read basically 3 books this week, because the other books that I would have picked up to read this week, I'm like multiple issues behind on them. So I basically stuck with these 3. And Daredevil number 17 is a pretty good pick for myself. And that's it for my rapid fire. Over to Rodicat.
Alrighty. First up for me, we have Birds of Prey number 17. Written by Kelly Thompson, art by Samir Basri, inks by Vincente Cifuentes, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So this ends that whole Ninth Day Corporation arc that the birds have gotten themselves into, where they were going to rescue, where they were rescuing some captured Amazonians, and they had Batgirl undercover, with her doing her best Die Hard last issue until things happened and ended up getting caught up with it, and the rest of the birds ended up coming into play. But all's well that ends well, and going on into the next, the next mission for them. There was a little bit of turnabout, I guess you could say, and when one bird had to be there for another one, as that same bird was there for them in a recent in a recent or in a previous volume, previous arc. So it was good to see that their chemistry together is always great. Next up is Batgirl number 3, written by Tate Brumble, art by Takashi Miyazawa, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Tom Napolitano. Excuse me. So yeah, this is Batgirl Cassandra Cain, who is also in Batgirl. I mean, Birds of Prey. Excuse me.
Right.
But this is her solo book where her and her mom, Lady Shiva, are on the run because there are some assassins after both of them. Cass kind of got handled last issue, so she's kind of a little bit of shook from that. But at the beginning of this issue, her and her mom kind of have some words while they are on the way to meet some allies of Shiva's. And I'm going to assume this takes place before Black Canary Best of the Best, because she should be getting ready for a fight and not on the run with her daughter. But you know what? Hey, timing things. Regardless, Cass kind of learned some things about her mom, including some allies including the allies that they're going to meet, but not before a little bit of overreaction happens. And yeah, so and the book continues to continue into give a little bit more to. I forgot that Cass actually had a solo book prior to this, because I'm not really up on a whole lot of DC books of the past, much less lately. But lately I've been kind of getting into a few, so but the book's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, I forgot that.
What was that?
I was about to say, I forgot that issue 2 came out. I didn't realize this was issue 3. This is another book that I'm now 2 issues behind on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, not too late to catch up.
Yep.
So next up, while we're on the DC train, is Justice League: The Atom Project number 1 of 6, written by Ryan Parrott and John Ridley. Is back in the mix. After his, I guess he did do that the run of Batman, the other Batman, excuse me. Let's get that clear. Art by Mike Perkins, colors by Adrian. Actually, and I think he's got another book that's with somebody else. But anyway, art by Mike Perkins, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Wes Abbott. So again, like I've said, I know I'm going to keep saying this for a little bit, but this book is coming out of Justice League Unlimited, much like many other books are. As the name would suggest, the Atom, aka both Ryan Choi and Ray Palmer, are teamed up, and as the color would suggest, Captain Atom is in the mix, which he is, but in what capacity in this first issue goes from being apparently he was one of the ones who was depowered during the events of Absolute Power, or some power. I'm not entirely sure, because like I said, I don't know who got depowered, who lost their powers, or who's got
scrambled. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. What it is that there are some that are scrambled.
Right. Yeah, some people's right, exactly. So I'm not entirely sure of that status, but they make it like they basically cut to an earlier time from 3 weeks prior to where he's unpowered, and whatnot. But at the end of the book, it seems kind of different, or I guess changed from then or something. I'm not sure. And it's also, as much as I hate to say it, because of the art. I guess I could say because of the art, it's kind of figure out who is who in a couple of cases. But if you showed me clear pictures of Ryan Choi and Ray Palmer, yes, they probably should, given the names have some distinctive differences. But I couldn't tell who was who in this particular book because, like I said, these are characters I don't really follow like that. So that's probably more me and not necessarily the art. But you could take a look at that for yourself and decide for yourself if you are more familiar with both of those characters. But nevertheless, like I said, the Adams Project basically is them trying to find folks, basically find out where the misplaced powers are, or put people's misplaced powers back into their rightful people. They are the ones that are handling that stuff. The tech they're using is not 100% certain, let's just say. So they're still kind of working on it because I guess it is a still new thing for them to do, or for have to do after the events of whatnot. So they're still finding people who got these powers, and trying to match them up with the people who lost their powers or had them scrambled or whatnot. So they're dealing with a lot, and I'm not entirely sure what this whole 6-issue thing is going to be about outside of that. But the one thing you can be sure of is that Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi have two distinctly different methods of bedside manner. So, but I guess Ray being old and grizzled, he's going to be a certain way, whereas Ryan's a little younger and I guess a little bit more optimistic. So it kind of plays and shows in that, which is kind of funny. Next book that I have is Ultimates #8, which I know Agent 70 was reading.
Right. No, but feel free to speak more in depth on it because I won't mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Given what's on the cover, that kind of tells you the most of the most that comes out of it. So there's really not that much to spoil. But the Ultimates meet the ultimate version of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Or I guess you say a version of the ultimate version of Ultimate Galaxy, because that is not the only Guardians team that actually shows up in the pages, and I say shows up as in mentioned during the course of including the OG. I can go ahead and spoil that one. So the OG squad kind of shows up because they were being talked about.
Okay.
But like I said, I think there's also some others that were at very least brought up. So, but yeah, the Ultimates, like I said, meets the Guardians, and of course, things happen. The reason why the Guardians show up is because of again, if you're watching the video version, the cover kind of gives you a hint because it has to do with one of the Ultimates, and not only that, but apparently some tidings are brought in relation to, well, not even in relation to, but just some tidings are brought just on the side of them coming for the reasons why they did, put it this way. So, and like I said, that was it was an interesting read. It almost felt like in certain spots some Hickman mumbo jumbo, but not really, because this is not this is not Hickman writing this. So, but there was a whiff. There was definitely a whiff. And with that, we go to the last book of, which is Excuse me. Spectacular Spider-Man number 11, written by Greg Weisman, art by Andres Genolet and Von Randall, color artist Edgar Delgado, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So while the cover suggests an introduction to this new hero-like character that the Spideys have come across. Not really, because that happened last issue. But let's just say that there's a little bit of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in here. Along with some mistaken identity on one side of it, and that is to hold a part of the adventure with the spiders and friends. But on the other side of it, the Electros are still kind of out and about doing their thing, and they get into something with a family member of a spider adjacent character that may or may not have been a villain at one point or in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much enough to say about that without giving too much away. It was, again, Spectacular Spider-Man continues to be a fun read. So I've been enjoying it. In fact, I just told somebody about this book at the same time I was watching them play, the person play Marvel Spider-Man 2 that has both that has Peter and Miles in it. So it only felt right. Like this is kind of one of those books that's like, yeah, you can kind of pick up this one and kind of roll with it. There's no real, no real stakes, but it's also fun. So check that out. And that, folks, are all my books. Kliqs of the week.
All righty, Kliqs of the week.
I'm going to assume you're still standing on the one that you mentioned.
Yeah, Daredevil. Daredevil number 17.
Right. So for me, my potentials are previously stated: Sam Wilson, Captain America number 105, Avengers 22. I think that was it. Spectacular Spider-Man is usually pretty good, so that's just a genuinely fun book. Ultimates was interesting because of some of the stuff that I mentioned, and there is a lot.
Yeah, I was weirded out when I flipped through it. I was like, "Whoa, I missed something here."
Yeah, but you kind of did it because anything, like I told you earlier, anything that happened in this issue has nothing to do with previous issues. So that's what I said. You could have just gone ahead and read this one.
I got you.
Well, maybe one thing that comes up, but it was something that you already knew about. So, but I think I am actually going to put up the Sanford Green cover for this one. Avengers number 22 is going to be my click.
Nice.
Because it was quite fun. And with that, folks, we are going to go into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
righty, we're going to get into cinematic news. Oh, sorry, I mean that is about this time. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to, I love this name, Troll Barton 2 in the chat, who's in the Twitch chat. But I see you, Gundam Wing. I see you. I see you.
Okay.
I love that name though, but because of that. So yeah, we are going to get into the cinematic news, starting off with Avengers Doomsday villains reportedly revealed along with a big Scarlet Witch update. So yeah, apparently there's rumors, and this is actually, I'm just going to put this as a rumor / report because this is coming from some rumor site. Who says the Avengers were going to fight evil versions of themselves in the upcoming blockbuster, which, yeah, not that big of a surprise if that is indeed a thing that happens. So,
I ain't one of the gospel, so you ain't heard that from me.
Exactly. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. is mentioned in this article, and let's see. It also mentions whether Wanda, coming off of, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, will be an ally and or antagonist, which, information that is not known. And that comes from a different rumor site. So there it is. Including a rumor that she could be, which realistically is kind of credible given comic history. She could be Doctor Doom's lover in the story. And that would be something, if they were going to do that, would come off of what is that, Children's Crusade? That happen? So that's not outside the realm of possibilities if that happens, and would be comic accurate. So yeah, we shall see. Like I said, this is just a rumor from a couple of rumor sites, and we shall see what shakes out with that movie when it happens. Next up.
Alrighty. Let's see. Next up, Kat Dennings explains why she keeps returning to the MCU as Darcy. Because why not? That's kind of the explanation,
So you mentioned this last week, and I was like, and I did see an article around, so I figured let me just go ahead and put it in here.
She basically says, the character, has expanded and it just keeps going, and why not? Why wouldn't she do it?
Right. And according, I think this article says that has shown up the most in MCU stuff at this point. So, which I'm not mad at it. I mean, not mad at it at all. Not sure why she's doing a show with Tim Allen, but that's just, that's a totally separate thing.
Exactly.
A totally separate thing. Next up, I'm going to take these next two because I can't remember if this was out when we recorded last week, but just in case it wasn't, there's a trailer for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, complete with hip hop beat, which I am going to assume is the actual show's theme song, which it's all right. If you haven't had a chance to check out the trailer, it is out there for you. People have been tripping because of, actually, we'll go into the next story when we talk about this, because the trailer shows not just Peter, not just Nico Minoru, but also we get a little bit of Norman Osborn and Harry, actually. So because there's been pictures of Norman and Harry floating around on the internets in the last few days, and of course, well, not even of course, but both Norman and Harry are black, and of course, the people have been talking about the hairstyle, which honestly, hey, look, in one way makes a certain sense because not just because of the hair. Well, mostly because of the hairstyle. We'll say that because we're not trying to put anything else out there about that. But apparently, like I said, people have been all pro and con about things. And of course, you have the people that's blah, 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 blah about when certain things happen to fictional characters that has no bearing on their real life. But you know, there is that. So I believe there was a couple of suits also showing up in the trailer. So one of which looks like it was the Future Foundation suit, which I was like, oh, so how is that going to come into the show? Because I know they haven't, as far as we know, they hadn't said anything about Fantastic Four showing up. They're just going to have an extra suit that's just them, but not that. I don't know. But also it looks like, okay, if you're watching the video version, you can see, some other characters that looks to be showing up, including Doctor Strange, a version of Scorpion, and Dr. Octopus. And I don't know who this Plasma Wolverine lady is, but I'm going to assume that it's not Extra 23. But hey, we shall see. But yeah, therein lies that, folks. And oh yeah, we did get a premiere day, which I think we may have talked about previously, but in case we didn't, it is January 29th of this year, and we can say this year finally. So Jeff Tramiel so I knew that name sounded familiar because Disney's Amphibia and the Owl House, but also Cartoon Network's Craig of the Creek, who is serving as head writer of this series, which explains a whole lot with the theme song.
Yeah, right.
And a couple of things. So, okay, yeah, I am continuing to be interested in this not MCU show. I believe they have said as much. Next up.
All right, so apparently last week's episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew contained a nod to the state of the galaxy at large. So you have a lot to learn about pirates. The kids find themselves at a spa on the planet Lanupa, where security is increased because of an intergalactic banking clan summit. And that was a pretty deep cut because that intergalactic banking clan was a key player during the Clone Wars. So this is all like kind of circling back to the prequel stuff.
Right.
And this is stuff that, made appearances throughout Clone Wars and apparently through, talking about like having ties to separatists and stuff like that. That's all that Clone War stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like and we didn't talk about it, but I remember the mentioning of it, but I didn't really think that much of it.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked about it, it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, and I figured, hey, yeah, of course the bank account would probably still be around, but now that I think about it, no, maybe not, given how things was folded after the Clone Wars. But yeah, there is that. Next up, in what should have been not a surprise here moment, Jason Momoa is finally playing his dream role in DCU's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And of course, that role is Lobo. So, and I know he had said in the past he had wanted to, he loved Lobo for some reason, and it makes sense because if you've seen any animated version of Lobo or even whatever, you can see Jason Momoa in the role. Kind of makes sense. So, but a quote here is, so Lobo was, I collect comics and I don't do so much anymore, but he was always my favorite and I always wanted to play Lobo because I'm like, hello? It's the perfect role, said the Jason Momoa. Momoa went on to say that DC should come around asking him to play Lobo. It would be a fuck yeah. So, or if DC came around. So, yeah. And it did, even after, I guess this is another thing that has come up recently on the social medias because people are like, well, wait, didn't he just play Aquaman? That's a totally separate thing. I mean, yes, same company, but still, it's not like there have been other folks who have played the two different characters in the same universe at two different times. Looking at you, Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, Michael B. Jordan. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of that, so it's kind of funny when people get that under their craw. But yeah, that's going to be the thing. Next up.
So in this week's episode of Creature Commandos, it confirms one of the weirdest Batman characters exists in the DCU. So when I just skim this article, it does mention it, but there's no appearance.
Right.
So that's what's clear. So basically, in a piece of dialogue, one of the characters asks, "So, what kind of monster? Reptiloid, amphibious, simian, mite, poltergeist?" And just that, I caught that. I caught all of that. That entire exchange. But this article is basically saying, "Oh, that confirms that." A characters like Bat might exist in the DCU.
Right.
So okay, and apparently James Gunn came out on social media saying, a while back, everyone knows I love Batmite.
Right. Wouldn't that also be an indirect reference to Mitsoplik? I'll say it like I know it. Because
Mixie
also
Pitlick.
Mitsoplik. Yes. I'm going to say Mitsoplik because that's what I grew up with.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what they said on Super Friends.
Exactly. Because isn't he also fifth dimensional or something like that?
Or something like that, man. I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. That whole thing is weird. Because I know, and recently him and Batmite was in World's Finest comic book fairly recently. So that was the other reason why I thought about that. Anyway, next up though, Keanu Reeves says his heart wants to do John Wick 5, but doesn't know if his knees can do it.
Oh, that gives me that just hurts me.
I mean, hey, look.
That hurts me. I know.
None of us.
I know it's like real life.
Right.
You know?
So this article says Keanu Reeves and being relatable. Name a more iconic duo. The actor had a perfect but brutally honest response when asked about the possibility of a fifth film in the wildly successful John Wick franchise during a recent appearance on CBS Mornings, which is the aforementioned quote that I said. Actually, I'm just gonna say the quote here with the addendum that I have here. You can never say never, but my knees right now are saying you can't do another John Wick. So my heart wants to, but I don't know if my knees can do it.
It's scary because when you think about it, it's been more than 10 years since he filmed the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot happens in that time.
Yes. Even for someone as young looking as he still does, you wish the ravages of time to come for us all.
Well, at the end of the day, he also ended up doing a lot of his own stunt work. He does a lot of his own, fight scenes and fight choreography, and he put in the time on the gun range to learn how to do a lot of those, slick gun moves that he does. Mm-hmm. So that takes its toll.
Oh, yeah.
It takes its toll.
Right. Not surprising, but been watching a little bit of Pluto TV, and the John Wick movies are still on there, or I think they might have came back on there because I think they might have left on it. So I was watching 2 recently.
Nice. I own all of them.
I do too.
I bought copies of all of them. So
yeah, I do too. But like I said, it's kind of the thing. It's like it's on and it's there. So it was either that or the James Bond movies. But so. But anyway, it's just funny going back to those movies or going to those movies in at this point. But to round out this article, currently the 60-year-old, you heard me right, is promoting his role in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, of course, which he's playing Shadow. The name was it was him and somebody else from him and the director of that movie. Who made a joke about after that talking about which is why you can voice Shadow for like decades to come. There are no physical limitations, just your voice. to follow Jeff Fowler, who's the director, Reeves added, "I'm free." So
Ah.
That's funny.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Next up.
Next up, you may not recognize this name because I don't, but actor Gary Chalk is best known for playing Optimus Prime in Transformers Armada, Transformers Cybertron, and Transformers Energon, as well as in Beast Machines, Transformers, where he also played Optimus Primal. So, and he did it in Beast Wars.
Yes.
So on December 4th, he shared a long message on his Facebook page about how he's been diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a bone to pick with this article because they went totally in the wrong order. Like, and I'm guessing this person who wrote this is probably younger also.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Beast Wars would have been well, granted he had done more stuff prior to Beast Wars that from what I have come across and actually remember him from after the fact. But Beast Wars, where he plays Optimus Primal, is the one that he's probably the most known for, and then he ended up playing those other Optimus Prime after that because those shows that came after.
Right.
So also, apparently he was on Stargate SG-1 at a couple of cases, which it was kind of funny finding that out, or watching those episodes. I was saying, but either way, fuck cancer. Yeah, you talked to, I can't remember, don't remember if you mentioned his Facebook message here about he's been canceling the convention appearances because of everything going on. So, I wish him well in this fight. That's pretty much the most I'm gonna say. He's a voice like yeah, he might not be the Frank Walker, of type or whatever, but his voice is at the very third noticeable, if you're in a certain realm. So especially if you're like the Beast Wars stuff and the shows that were made by the same people, mainframe people, he was in a lot of those shows a lot, or he and whatnot. So like that, wishes fight well. Next up, though, you can stream Apple TV Plus free this weekend, and that is this weekend as of we're recording, as we're coming up on. So I saw they said one day, but I'm not getting any clear actual date. Oh, no, here it is. There is one. Okay. So Apple has confirmed that from January 3rd to the 5th, you will be able to watch the company's original shows and movies without a paid subscription, provided you have an Apple ID. Apple calls out shows like Silo, Severance. I would just go in and put in a point for Monster. The Legacy of Monsters. Slow Horses is one I keep meaning to go back on to. Or go to because I haven't checked that one out. Mythic Quest, this other stuff. We're not sure.
Ted Lasso.
I need to see. That's why I didn't say anything because I knew he was going to do it. So I didn't have to. But yeah. So yeah, if you catch this here show before the 5th, January 5th, 2025. Hey, go check that out. Now, the weird thing about this article, the article says 3rd to the 5th, but the image that they have in the article says January 4th and 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So, use your discretion. Either way, the 4th and 5th is definitely going to be the case, but the 3rd is, I guess, up in the
air. It might be like in the evening of the 3rd.
Maybe
that might be how it works.
Yeah, they're not saying one way or the other, but
right, because it might be like a midnight, so that ends up being a little bit earlier on the West Coast, something like that.
Oh wait, no. Actually, no. So I clicked through to the Apple.com article on this, and it says 3rd to the 5th.
Oh, there it is.
So that's weird that their image is saying something different. But regardless, there you go, folks. One way or the other, you wanted to check out Apple TV, and you got an Apple account, hey, go for it. And you're not already subscripted, and I didn't mean to say that the way I said it. There you go. Next up,
Right. So, where is this?
What's in the box?
There it is.
Director David Fincher reveals what was really in the box in Seven.
What's in the box?
So it's mostly left up to the imagination, but at the end of the day, he says what was really there was a 7 or 8 pound shot bag with a wig. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it was, you know, it wasn't really a head, but it was definitely something to make you think it was.
Right. Which, yeah, because that's kind of one of those ones that's like, well, I didn't think that would be that much of a brainer, you know, because you kind of figured it was. Everyone figured it was a head, and it was specific for purposes for head. Which, why wouldn't you go that way with that? You know, not knowing. So, what else would it have been that would be so recognizable and striking? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
Can
apparently,
cause that kind of reaction,
right? So you know, hey, you know, it's still up to the rumor mill, I guess. Well, I mean, not really because of this, but at the same time, in the movie sense, I guess. Anywho's, next up, movie theater chain celebrating National Popcorn Day with Bring Your Own Bucket promo. So this is from movie theater chain Cinemark, who's like I said on National Popcorn Day, which is January 19th. I do love me some popcorn, and I gotta get. Well, I do have some, but I gotta get me some more. Love me some popcorn. Let's see. On Bring Your Own Popcorn Day, you can score a $5 popcorn by bringing your own container to your local theater. You don't need a movie ticket to get the deal, which I could just thought you could just go into the movie theater and just buy up some popcorn anyway. Last I checked, that was the case. Maybe not. But this is, you can bring a bucket. So let's see. Literally everything can be a bucket. Get creative and bring any container, tote, or bag. The container is limited to 400 ounces. If you don't bring your own container, you can still get on the fun with a $5 extra large popcorn at all Cinemark locations on National Popcorn Day. Which once again, January 19th. Don't just go in there tomorrow and be like, hey, I heard you had this thing going on. Although I thought I saw from another story that this might be a thing that they might continue. I might be wrong about that at some point. But that is that for that day only. So if you, like me, love to use some movie theater popcorn, you might just go and do that. I do have a couple of buckets to do just that with.
Right. So you didn't see the story about the Captain America popcorn bucket?
Yeah.
The Brave New World?
Yeah, we talked about it. Mm-hmm.
We did. Okay. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Well, I can't remember if you were here on that one. That might have been one of the last ones you were on before your hiatus.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. But yeah, we did talk about it. No, actually, you weren't here now that I think about it.
Okay.
Because I did say, because I think I would either, I can't remember if I told Matt or if I just mentioned on the show. I was like, yeah, I gotta show this one to Age of 70 because I know he'd be interested one way or another about it. So, did you wait? Did I? Well, no, because they're not out yet. So I was about to say, you plan on getting one?
Probably not. It's a high, you know, it's like a skydiving helmet. You know, it's like a Halo helmet. You know.
Oh, you're talking about that one. I thought you were talking about the one with the shield.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see the one with the shield.
Yeah, there was one with the shield and the Hulk hand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I did see.
Yeah. So, Popcorn book is a weird thing nowadays. But anyway, that is that, folks. And now we are going to go into the anime corner.
All right. The Dragon Ball One Piece crossover has landed, and it's apparently heart-wrenching. So in one special anime episode, the Z Fighters met the Straw Hat Pirates in an event that had plenty to offer both Dragon Ball and One Piece fans alike. Okay, let's see here.
Really? I don't know if people heard that, but apparently they're still shooting fireworks outside.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
All right, let's see. So if you have not had the chance to watch the legendary crossover take place in an anime adaptation, the meeting of the Straw Hats and the Saiyans took place in the 590th episode of One Piece. Okay.
Ridiculous amount of ridiculous amount of shows for one show.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah, apparently it's on Netflix, so you can check that out for yourself. But I'm sure One Piece fans have already watched the hell out of it 2 or 3 different times, like it was Haikyuu. I know. I actually I do want to check it out just to see what. I mean, this image is pretty much makes a whole lot of sense, but
Right.
I would like to see how it plays out. So that's kind of interesting that it happened. Next up, though, Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War Part 4 has been announced. The news follows the finale of Part 3. Let's see. Following the final broadcast of Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War Part 3, The Conflict, the official website and accounts for the Bleach anime series officially announced the 4th core, entitled Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War Part 4, The Calamity. An announcement trailer and visual were also released, but a release date was not at the time of this article's recording. So, yeah, I still need to catch up on Bleach, period, much less the 1,000-Year Blood War. So, here's hoping that'll happen at some point. Next up.
All right, so we move into the comic book news. That doesn't look like there's manga news.
Nope, you're right.
All righty. So, give me 1 second. A deep cut DC character just made their surprise return in Superman number 21. Let's see here. Doomsday has returned in more than one guise. Okay, apparently. And yeah, welcome back, Doomsday. It's been 30 plus years.
Well, no. So it's not Doomsday though.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I gotta keep reading.
Yeah.
Ah,
And it's and still not that deep of a cut given, but we'll talk about that in a second after you get the.
Oh, it's Amethyst.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When was the last time we saw Amethyst?
Young Justice, probably about when was that last run of Young Justice? Probably about what, good 3-4 years ago or something. Like, granted, it's still a deep cut then and still now, because I mean, Amethyst is not a character that's like widely known in DC, but like I said, the character has had some recent history.
Gotcha.
I want to say not only just that, because it was also that Young Justice, and I think they gave her a miniseries around that same time. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about it, but I'm not sure. But so yeah, so deep cut, not that deep.
Got it.
Or not as deep as it could be. But hey, I'm glad they're using their properties, I guess. Next up, though, One World Under Doom turns the Fantastic Four into the Fantastic Three. This is something we had kind of, at the very least, hinted around and talked about in past shows. But it does indeed sound like what we talked about with Time Slide, and that yes, Doom is going to be the one responsible for de-rocking Ben Grimm. So as we thought. So apparently it's going to, let's see, One World Under Doom #2 cover teased a humbling defeat for the Fantastic Four at the hands of Dr. Doom. This key moment in Ryan North and RB Silver's One World Under Doom event will be further expanded on in Fantastic Four #30, where North's acclaimed run in the title takes a drastic turn. This is a Marvel.com article, by the way, just in case the language seems a little flowery, As the shocking cover showed, Doctor Doom may have done what Mr. Fantastic has failed to do for so long. Again, the future of Marvel's first family has never been uncertain, as one of its members is taken off the board for good. So, or at the very least, you could take this. You can take this cover two different ways. The most obvious way is being that maybe Doom killed Ben Grimm. Which would probably may or may not be the correct way to take it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know yet. We'll find out. Next up.
All right, so we're going to see a lot more of Josiah X, and this article fills me in on where this character first appeared. So, this February, Evan Narcisse, Greg Pak, and Eder Messias bring back Josiah X, the son of Isaiah Bradley and Sam Wilson, Captain America #2, complete with a new look. So, let's see here.
That's a typo.
Created by Christopher Priest and Joe Bennett in the 2003 comic series The Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Josiah X is the son of former Captain America Isaiah Bradley. Using the super soldier powers he inherited from his father, Josiah X embraced his legacy by protecting his community and shedding light on American injustice. Okay. So that's where he's originating from.
Right. I remember, yeah, so I've read The Crew and I remember him being in there, but the next part of this, to what we were talking about earlier, I did not know whether that's where they talked about his origin. I mean, to the that we were referring to earlier in the show. So now I'm gonna have to go back and read The Crew, because that was a good.
There it is. I was going to say, like, it wasn't going to be, because I don't remember Josiah X being referred to in Red, White, and Black.
Right, that was Isaiah, and I misspoke on that one.
Right, I just couldn't speak to it with authority, because I'm like, I don't know if I remember anything post World War II really referring to Josiah X or like a son, like a clone son. I'm like, no, that's a little out there in terms of concept for that book.
Right, but I still stand behind the fact that I would go back and read it. But yeah, like,
sure,
I did definitely misspeak on that one.
And I just couldn't remember it well enough.
Right. So, but regardless, hey, Josiah X is coming back, folks. Which, again, you could almost kind of figure that out by the fact that he got brought up in this first issue.
Right.
So it wasn't that big of it shouldn't be that big of a surprise, but at the same time, you wouldn't necessarily know that, even though, because people get mentioned and stuff all the time, but don't necessarily show up. So, anyway, that is that, folks. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the cover of Sam Wilson, Captain America #3 of 5, which prominently shows Josiah in a new garb. Redesigned by, well, not redesigned, but with designs by Torrin Clark and covered by Torrin Clark. So there you go. Who's been kind of busting it on covers lately, and I've been loving them. Next up, though, Marvel officially reveals a new team of super teens, and they're not the Young Avengers. So they're talking about this. Oh, it's not even that crew that we're talking about. Or at least not all of their crew. No, it is some of them. It is them. It is very much them. So comicbook.com has a exclusive preview of New Champions #1 by Steve Fox, Ivan Fiorelli, Iguara, Arthur Hesley, and VC's Travis Lanham. It drops readers right in on the action in San Francisco as the new champions assemble to take down the Brothers Grimm, because of course. The evil dude.
All the wackos characters are coming back, man.
Right. Yeah, right. Because the Shroud was back for a second. And now these folks, these dudes. So it's kind of funny. Actually, Digger and a couple of them came back at the same time. But anyway, regardless. The evildoer think they're being attacked by Moon Knight when the crescent darts go flying by them in the air. However, it's not Moon Knight or the Avengers, West Coast, young or otherwise. One of the heroes says, then we meet our 4 new champions. So these folks came out of Spider-Woman, or the core group, I should say, came out of Spider-Woman, most recent volume. Just in case you're wondering who the hell these legacy inspired characters are. But it looks like they've added to the group. One of them looks like a DC character, but with magic. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, so like I said, we got a preview for the new champions, which I still hate that they're going by that name. I'm going to be honest. And some preview pages here that I'm scrolling to really quickly. And shout out to our dude Tim DOG Double G, who wrote this article. Just saying, gotta give our boy some shout out. But oh wait, oh no, that's next week. I'm just tripping. So that makes sense. We got a preview for the book, which comes out Wednesday, January 8th. So next week we'll more than likely be talking about this book. Next up.
All right, Spider Prowler is teased in a new Spider-Verse series. So a new canon event is happening in the Spider-Verse. So let's see here. So if you remember the events of Across the Spider-Verse, you remember at the end there was the reveal that a variant of Miles, is definitely not a good guy. And bottom line is we find out that, he may end up taking on the mantle of another related character. And thus we have here, despite the delay of Beyond the Spider-Verse, we're going to get a new Spider-Verse series, will hopefully satisfy fan desire for new Miles stories and Prowler Miles stories. So this is going to come out in Marvel's Web of Spider-Verse New Blood #1. It's going to be a one-shot that introduces another variant Miles that is, of course, the Spider Prowler.
Yep. Gotta line up the MCU, right?
You got it.
Next up, some video game news. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was successful enough that Disney reportedly picked up the phone and wants more, quote unquote. I still have yet to play that game, but I have seen it and it looks great. And yeah, seems to play great by people that have seen it. But this is a report. So that should be said here, that Disney's probably wants a little bit some more of this. Not surprising, because I hear that game actually did pretty good. So I would not be surprised if, Disney's like, oh wait, we own that, and hey, it did good. Hey, more, sure, why not? We're greedy. Okay, they probably didn't say that part, but the wringing of hands was probably there. Says here they don't have any official numbers of how well it did, but but it has been heard in circles that that game did some numbers. Whether you played it on Game Pass or bought it outright, which I think probably a lot of people played it on Game Pass. Next up.
Okay, this is a little confusing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm reading this article. And Transformers farewells its masterpiece line with Optimus Prime's best lookalike. So all right. So the Takara Tomy T-Spark YouTube channel has now released videos of both the Jinrai figure of Optimus Prime, apparently for the Transformers masterpiece line, and the add-on Super Jinrai in the Transformers MPG, which is like, I guess, the follow-up MPG figure listing.
So basically, it goes like this. Yeah, they're closing out the Masterpiece line with this figure that is the Japanese Optimus Prime,
Mhm.
and the super version of that character, also from the Japanese Transformers, but also starting up a new line in the place of, which is weird.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it. And also, even it almost sounds like Masterpiece. So I don't know why they're renaming or whatever the case may be. That they're doing this with, because it's not like they have a whole half a dozen lines that are already confusing as it is
Yeah.
with all of the figures that have. So I'm going to assume that just like the Masterpiece figures are going to be pretty articulate and it takes a little bit more to transfer form, because I didn't watch this video so yet. But there you go, folks. That is the thing on that one. I still need to watch all those Japanese joints. Those are things get weird. Next up, though, Transformers: Age of the Prime Titan Triptychon first look. If you're watching the video version, you can see the two figures right there, or the one figure in two different forms. I guess one of them might be more of a prototype or a recoloring. And then there's, of course, Triptychon right there. Let's see. So this is coming from the official Transformers Instagram account. It is a re-release of the Titans Return Triptychon mold, now in a very nice cartoon accurate deco, according to this article. The new release features no stickers and no clear parts on the chest, and retains full tilt and Titan Master Decepticon Necro. This new release comes in with a new package and a new art style, according to this article and whatever information that they got. And there's a video back there if you are attached, if you are interested. Not attached, but linked to if you are interested, and as well as photos. There you go. Next.
Alrighty. Quick question: have you watched the Christopher Reeve documentary yet?
Not yet, but I do have it in. I have it on my list.
I did watch it, by the way. It was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, Superman 3 lands at McFarlane Toys with a Platinum Edition release. So you can, let's see here. It's going to be a rare Superman figure, which includes a fabric cape, heat ray eyes, and dark costume design. You can complete your collection with Christopher Reeve's Superman figures with the Superman 3, I guess, an alternate version.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a deluxe figure.
Man, hey, it's not bad looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's for you, it's not for me, but have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not real big on DC figures anyway, so either way.
Right.
So but like I said, not bad looking figure.
Right.
A weird darker blue than I was expecting for that particular version. Also.
Yep.
But hey, it is what it is. Somebody will probably get it. But going back to that the documentary, was it I heard it was good, but also kind of not sad, but
it is
emotionally wrenching.
It is sad.
Gotcha. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I had to be in a certain mind state for that one, but I definitely will check it out. So next up, Kong battles Batman in Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, set from McFarlane Toys. So it says here, the Cape Crusader meets the eighth wonder of the world in McFarlane Toys Batman versus Kong action figure set. It includes a 12-inch Kong with 2 interchangeable heads and a 7-inch Batman, which seems way too tall for for that pairing, but that's just me being stupid. 7-inch Batman with 22 points of articulation and a 3-inch Batman, there we go, that Kong can hold. They are packaged together in a window box alongside a figure display base and a collectible art card featuring artwork by E.M. Geist, with estimated arrival time of February The sets cost $70. So it's
Cool.
according to this article, no word if McFarlane was followed up with a Superman versus Godzilla set, but Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2 is expected to hit comic shops this summer, and that is true. Flipping through, there's the images right there. It's Kong and Batman. There's a Kong and Mini Batman. There's them squaring up. There's the box right there. And last but not least,
Popeye, Tintin, and more are set to enter public domain. Interesting. So NPR reports that January 1st, a couple days ago, will be the day Popeye, Tintin, and more are officially in the U.S. public domain. So the copyrights protecting the characters are set to expire, marking 95 years from when they were first protected. Okay. So when they enter the public domain, it will be easier for creatives to use the characters in remakes, spin-offs, and other types of adaptations, similar to Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse projects that were recently created. Since they entered the public domain, obviously there are certain aspects of these characters that are still trademarked by their respective owners, but only specific versions of the characters will be fair game in the public domain.
Right. So Popeye himself, public domain. Popeye with spinach, still licensed.
Right.
If I think I get the order of that right. Yes.
Yep. That is correct.
It's the spinach part that's that gets caught up, which apparently came later.
There
you
oh
go.
God.
Also, if you haven't seen, I know I've talked about this before, if you haven't seen the 1980s Robin Williams led Popeye movie, boy, you should, and maybe have I was about to say maybe have a drink or something, a little something with you, because that thing is already, that's a trip. And it's a musical, so I don't know if if people are there are people who feel some kind of way about that. Overall, it's a good movie, but I think that thing is a weird one. I remember seeing that junk in the theaters.
Wow.
Yeah. Woo, boy. Now I'm not saying it's bad, because it was just like, wow, it's crazy. Anyway, that, folks, is the news for us. Before we hit the last ad read, we both separately have a bit of show and tell. So 8 to 7, you go ahead and take it away with yours.
Sure. I have a little toy corner. I'm going to drop my background, my virtual background, just so that is a little clearer. And first up, something that I talked about last week, but I did not have delivered yet. That is the Marvel Legends series Secret Wars Wolverine, with a paint job clearly inspired by the Kenner Wolverine from back in the day. So you get the hologram / decoder shield here. You just see the hologram just switch, and you can see what's included. You have alternate hands, and you have alternate head. I particularly wanted to buy this Wolverine figure because he's got a smirk on the costume face, which is really just amusing looking. Right? That's actually a really cool sculpt on the face. And last but not least is I decided to get something that was on sale over at Amazon. That being the it wasn't the officially part of the 80th anniversary, but this is part of the Avengers Beyond Earth's Mightiest, I guess, wave. This is the Grey Hulk and Dr. Bruce Banner 2-pack. And this came in, this is heavy. This is a nice big hunk of plastic, right? And this is your one opportunity to get a Bruce Banner. So that's why I picked it up, and I was happy to. Yeah, definitely happy to. And both of them do have purple pants.
Of course.
So that's it for me.
All right, as we flip over there to me. All right, so some of this is going to be hard because I am not dropping my virtual background. But one of these days I will have that straightened up. In fact, I really, really wish that I had my camera set up so I could just put this on my table, on my desk. So folks may or may not have known or heard, but the DC versus Marvel amalgam book is out. It went on sale, I believe December 30th. And why does this thing look like it's open? Because it's, yeah. So as you can tell, it's a thick book. It's a thickens, just like the going to get it out. The other DC Marvel crossover book,
Right.
omnibus that came out fairly or a couple of months ago. So yeah, so this is the amalgam stuff. You can see the stuff with the spine on this. This is represented there.
Wow.
So yeah, go. There's the back of it. There we go. Yeah, good stuff. It's got a little thing down at the bottom, you know, of that. Like I said, I haven't opened it up yet. But yeah, like I said, I can work out with this Joker, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm gonna put that there for a second. And the other thing that I have, which came in today, pardon the noise, folks. Right. I gotta put together. So for the those who may or may not know, G.I. Joe Marvel, well, back up. Skybound did a Kickstarter for the G.I. Joe Marvel Compendium series. And I backed it. And with that came this trading card set, or these trading card sets, because there's more than one, that I ended up adding on to. Here is a bookmark with a Storm Shadow. It's Cobra Commando on one side and Storm Shadow on the other. Let's see, and Larry Hama and Zap trading card.
Nice.
Y'all know me, I'm a fan of trading cards, so I'm gonna have to do something with those. Got this pin, which is the G.I. Joe star. That's playing there. Is a little picture postcard of the Baroness. So can't really tell who art that is, and I would probably know him anyway.
Right.
So there's that. Here's another sticker of the G.I. Joe star. So yeah, I don't remember everything that came in the backing. This is a G.I. Joe comic bundle. I guess since we're here, might as well rip it open, right? Bagged and boarded too. Nice. Oh,
Nice.
So we have, what is this? G.I. Joe number 21.
Nice.
Please, I think. We have G.I. Joe yearbook number 1.
Nice.
And we have, I don't remember this one. Okay. G.I. Joe special number 1. It says at the top, featuring the death of Cobra Commander. Therein lies that. I think I have a copy of G.I. Joe yearbook number. I think I have the first 2 of these out in my garage somewhere. So that's cool.
Nice.
They sent out the digital versions of the compendiums a while back, so people who backed them already have had those. It's just that now we're getting the physical stuff. And another patch, the star. the G.I. Joe Star. I need to put all this up somewhere before I lose it all. And this last book, well, shoot. Part through. So I'm not going to show them, but I'll put up pictures on Instagram because there is a whole nother box in here with the physical copies of the compendiums.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fairly big box, and it's still short, and I don't have anything to open it up with at the moment.
Right.
So look out for my personal Instagram, Roddycat, for pictures of that when I opened up that box. My apologies on that, but hey, that's, you know, this box.
Listen, there's a lot included in there.
Yes, absolutely. So it was like, okay, I didn't actually go through it, you know, when I got the box, because I wanted to do it live on the show. And with that, like I said, while I put the stuff back in the box for the momentary, for the moment, let's get into our last, whoa, hold on a second. Get into our last ad read.
All right, our last ad read of the night is, of course, help keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's, again, books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. That's right, a payment. That helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that's it. We're bugging on out of here. First show of the new year. Appreciate anyone who has popped by, or if you pop by or come by after the fact in audio form, or, you know, watch the video form. Either way, we appreciate you for being here. I don't think there's anything. I guess, yeah, it's going to be a second before we start thinking. It's like, hey, movie protocol's coming up, even though we know we got Captain America coming up in next month or whenever.
Yeah, it's like it's like a little bit more than a month away.
Yeah, so, you know, outside of that, we know we're pretty much don't have much going on. And let's see, Skeleton Cruise. Got a couple of episodes left. I think Creature Commandos got one more left. So yeah, that's pretty much all we got going on outside of our regular shenanigans.
Yep.
All right. With that, folks, like I said, appreciate everybody for coming through here. I have been Roddycat. You can find me at Roddycat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You could also find me at CB Caps on Instagram. You could also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. Up a little bit. I didn't intend to, but anyway. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network, that's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place, so just whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that will help people find our show.
Indeed. And if you want to catch us when we're recording live, come by on Thursday nights, most times, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, youtube.com/TheKliqNation, or twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, or watch us on both. Hey, you know.
Exactly. Again, as I said, please hit like and subscribe. Hit that notification button so that you know when we are on live and direct.
And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles, except substitutes. Peace.
That's right. Peace. One.
And knowing is half the battle.